Thanks so much for joining us on this election eve special edition of Hardgrave. The great Caleb Bond, the one and the only from the Herald Sun, joining us out of Melbourne. Daisy One Kenobi, I call her. She's all-knowing and all-wise. She's here in Brisbane, and soon Dr. Joe Kosterich will join us from Perth. Can I just say, interesting thing to keep an eye on over coming weeks, particularly if Anthony Albanese becomes Prime Minister tomorrow and they try and deal with this, is that the Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority, APRA, have signalled in recent days that they're concerned about the way superannuation funds are milking a whole lot of fees off into the union movement. So a lot of those ads we're seeing on television right now, paid for by superannuation money that's gone into your super fund, and by their management have apparently shot a bunch of it, this is the allegation, shot a bunch of it across the unions. And we do know that those union super funds have got a lot of money. There's something like $3 trillion of collective wages that have been lost. So $12 out of every $100 your boss pays you goes into superannuation. Prime Minister wants to try and tap that and give you the chance to tap that for your first home. I think that probably has made a big difference. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that over coming week. Caleb Bond, you wrote a great article about Angry Albo and the small target strategy. Do you think it's going to make a difference? Do you think people are going to care one way or the other? They don't care about the details. They just want to get rid of Scott Morrison. Or do you think there is a squeak of a chance?
Look, I think there's certainly been a change over the last week or so. I mean, if you look at the polling that was done a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about, 56-44 across the country in terms of the swing that would go towards Labor. It's shortened in, according to most polls that you've seen over the last couple of days, to 53-40, 50. What I can't do maths tonight. I worked too hard today, Gary.
53-47.
Me tomorrow. 53-47. That's the number. I'm a journalist, Gary. I can't do maths. I'm sorry. I deal with words, not numbers.
Well, Caleb, there are three types of people in the world. There, those who can count and those who can't. Anyway, that's an old joke. Yes. Keep going. See, yes.
But there's clearly been a shortening in the interest in Labor, and I think it's the same phenomenon you had at the last election, which was that coming up towards the election in 2019. Everyone said that Bill Shorten would win. The polls said Bill Shorten would win. The bookies said Bill Shorten would win. And in that last week, I reckon it was seriously that last week of the campaign in 2019, people took a look at Bill Shorten and they just went, I don't like the look of this bloke. And I think over the last 2 weeks, people have started to realise to some degree that Albanese doesn't have any policies and he doesn't have any fight. He doesn't seem to want to be Prime Minister. And so it makes the job of Labor forming government more difficult. I would have said a few weeks ago, perhaps, they'd win 80 seats. Now I tend to think if they're going to win, it'll be with, one over the line. They'll get 76 and just make it. Or we face a hung parliament and you've got the probability or the possibility of, having to go into government with the Teals or the Greens, which would be an even bigger disaster. But it's certainly a much closer race than it was a few weeks ago.